What is the biggest lie about living in Colombia that everyone thinks it's true? I'd love to answer that right now, but I can't because I'm running away from muggers, extortionists, narcos, beautiful Colombian prostitutes that are trying to get me. Dang, that was close. Maybe I need to get one of these donkeys to take me to the nearest watering hole. There's a big disconnect between the way Colombia is perceived on the media and what it really is like to live here. I mean, the most successful movies, TV shows are about Colombia in the 90s and the drug war, and the protagonist is always that psychopath drug kingpin that we all know. At one point, Medellin and Colombia as a whole was one of the most dangerous places on the planet. But through hard work and perseverance, it has changed a lot. And I feel it's my duty to dispel some of these lies about Colombia. In this video, I'm going to explore some of the biggest misconceptions about Colombia and Medellin. I'll be covering food, poverty, safety, and women. The first biggest lie about Colombia is about the food. Now, Colombians will fight tooth and nail to tell you that it's the best food on the planet, while foreigners will say that it sucks. Firstly, many foreigners are ignorant or insensitive to the fact that Colombia has been a poor country for centuries. There's never really been a huge influx of immigrants coming from countries with amazing cuisine, like in countries such as the United States or UK or places in Europe. I mean, if you think about it, US food would suck if it weren't for immigrants and slaves. I couldn't imagine what food there would be like without soul food, Indian food, Italian food, Mexican food, etc. You'd probably be stuck with some version of English food, and we all know that sucks. In Colombia, you're not gonna find a little Tokyo, a little Armenia, a little Koreatown, Chinatown, little Saigon, little Mexico, etc. So when foreigners come down here, they expect some exotic, spice-laden food, but they're met with a $3 lunch menu. That brings me to my second point. The best Colombian dishes are made at home, not at $3 lunch menu spots. There are some really good Colombian cuisine restaurants, like the one right behind me called Hacienda. I'm in Barrio Manila right now, where you can get really great Colombian dishes, but they're not gonna be your $2.50 or your $3 menu lunch spots. A lot of expats and travelers come down here with low budgets, and they eat at these $2 or $3 menu lunch spots, and they get mediocre food, and then they judge Colombian food based on that. But even those inexpensive dishes are pretty healthy. So what are some of the best Colombian dishes in my opinion? I'll give you my top 4. Number 4 is la bandeja paisa. Bandeja paisa is this giant dish that has sausage, blood pudding, pork rind, which is called chicharrón, rice, avocado, beans, and a couple of other things thrown in there, but it's a giant dish. Number 3 is sancocho, which is a slow-cooked stew that will have chicken, pork, beef, and sometimes fish as well. Number 2 is ajiaco. Ajiaco comes from Bogota, and it's also a chicken stew with potatoes. And number 1 comes from the coast, and it's fish with coconut rice. And you can find that anywhere on the coast here, and it's definitely the best tasting dish. Getting any of these dishes at a restaurant is gonna be a lot different than home cooking. And that brings me to my last point about Colombian cuisine. It's that the main ingredient is really nostalgia. It's what it makes you feel and what it makes you remember. So when judging food here, have some sympathy and some taste. One of the biggest lies about Colombia is when you hear someone state that it's a third world country. When you hear that phrase, third world country, you probably think of dirt roads, no water, people starving. Although parts of Colombia do fit that description, Colombia as a whole is not that. According to the International Monetary Fund, Colombia is classified as a middle-income economy, and it's one of the biggest economies in Latin America. So what does it mean to be a middle-income economy? It means that per capita, people are making $4,466 US per year to $13,645 per year. According to a recent article, the average annual salary in Colombia is around 56,500,000 pesos, which is roughly over $14,000 per year. Colombia is very rich in natural resources. Compared to economic powerhouses such as Switzerland, Japan, North Korea, South Korea, it should be doing a lot better, yet it's not. Decades of internal conflict, the drug wars, greed, and corruption have really set it back. Although we can point the finger to all of those problems, the real problem is us, the Colombian people. We're notorious for being flaky, for being undisciplined, for not being on time to things, and for being corrupt. On top of that, our education system compared to the rest of the world is pretty shit. According to a recent study involving test scores for kids, over 70% of 15-year-olds have difficulties in reading and numbers. However, let's not negate that over the last 30 years, the education system has improved and it's continuing to improve. The biggest improvement has been in accessibility to education, which really has made a big difference out here. And the government continues to put money into education, so there is hope. Colombia aims to be the most educated country in Latin America by 2026. And Medellin, the rainiest city, because it's raining right now. So yes, compared to countries like the United States, Colombia is poor, but it's in development. But I, for one, have hope that Colombia is going to continue to improve their education system and that the culture is going to shift from one of lying, cheating, and stealing to one of honesty and hard work. So whenever you hear someone say that Colombia is a third world country, remind them that it's a middle income economy that's in development. The next biggest lie about Colombia is that it's very dangerous. According to the US advisory website, if you're traveling to Colombia from the US, you should reconsider due to crime and terrorism. You should exercise increased caution due to unrest and kidnapping. Now, if I was an inexperienced gringo traveler, that would cause me to have some concern. Although these things do happen, it's highly unlikely that they'll happen to you, especially if you're visiting cities like Bogota or Medellin. And even more so if you're an experienced traveler or just street smart and stay in safe neighborhoods. For example, did you know that there are over 25 US cities that have a higher homicide rate than Medellin? Cities like Baltimore, St. Louis, and Chicago all have higher homicide rates. And in regard to crime, Medellin is safer than many US cities, such as Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, etc. That being said, we still have a long way to go to becoming a very safe city. So if you are planning to live down here, you should learn what us Colombians know about safety. You see, since childhood, we have a few things ingrained in our mind when it comes to safety in public areas. For example, you keep all of your stuff together. Even if you're in a safe spot and let's say you need to go to the bathroom, you're by yourself, you don't leave your bag while you go to the bathroom. While in safe cities in the United States, that might be the norm. You could even leave your cell phone out and go to the bathroom and come back and no one will touch it. Here in Colombia, even in a safe area, you shouldn't be doing that. The next thing is that you don't need to be carrying wads of cash. In major cities in Colombia, people accept cards or bank transfers, so you don't need a ton of cash on your person. The next thing is a big thing, and it's something that I always remember my mom telling me. It's not to trust strangers. It's part of Colombian culture not to trust strangers, even if they're kind of your friends or acquaintances. You don't just trust them 100%. And that means that you don't bring strangers over to your home, you don't go to strangers' homes, etc., because you don't know what can happen. And this is normal, common sense for us Colombians, that might not be common sense to you. That's why I'm sharing this with you. And finally, the last piece of safety advice I'm giving you is not to give papaya. Everybody knows what that means in Colombia. It means that you don't make yourself a target. You don't take unnecessary risks. You don't show people what you have. You don't talk about what you have. You don't go out and meet people and buy them all drinks and show them how much cash you have. You don't wear it on your person, especially if you're going to places like downtown where people are looking at you, etc. So don't give papaya. All right, the Medellin rainy season is definitely here. But before we get home, luckily I've got this giant umbrella. Wanted to remind you that if you are considering a move to Medellin, you can download my free relocation guide. My team and I spent many hours creating this. The link is in the description below. It's a PDF that will tell you everything that you need to know in order to make your move to Medellin, whether it's part-time or full-time. The link is in the description below to the Medellin Masterclass /checklist. Download it. If you have questions, make sure to hit me up. let's get back to the video. All right, so the biggest lie about Colombia is that Colombian women are all beautiful. And before my entire family that are Colombian beat me up about this, let me clarify. But I'm gonna do that back at home in the studio because it's raining and I don't wanna get too wet. All right, we are back inside where we are nice and dry. And let me clarify about the lie that Colombian women are beautiful. That's not the lie. The lie is that their beauty is all they have to offer. When you think of Colombian women, you usually think of beautiful models, beautiful actresses and singers. And obviously when you get here, you can see that there are a lot of beautiful women here. I don't know what it is, whether it's the water, the beans, the jeans, whatever it is, you can definitely tell when you're in Colombia because the disparity between beautiful women and not so beautiful women is large because most of them are very beautiful. And yes, they spend hours, maybe even days, working on themselves externally, right? Making themselves look their very best, and sometimes even undergo grueling operations to achieve another level of beauty. And yes, the Colombian culture does place high value on your outward appearance, but again, that's not the only thing that Colombian women offer. We've got to realize that Colombian women are very strong. According to a report from a few years ago, 84% of children born in Colombia are born out of wedlock. Now, that doesn't mean that single mothers are taking care of 84% of children born, but it is a lot of women that are single mothers that are taking care of their kids, and it's noticeable. It's more than in many other countries around the world. Therefore, Colombian women have to be strong. They not only have to work and take care of themselves, but they also have to feed another mouth, and sometimes many mouths, because they also live with family, with no help from a man and no help from the government. Furthermore, Colombian women prioritize education and self-improvement. This dedication to learning and personal development helps them in their networking skills, making friends, building strong relationships, and getting ahead in life, even in a country where poverty levels are over 30%. Furthermore, Colombian women are usually known for their warmth, their friendliness, and their communication skills. And finally, Colombian women are passionate. This is a staple of the Colombian woman. Many foreign men will come to Colombia looking for a submissive woman and then be met with a shark tornado of a woman that eats them up alive. And then they go back home with their tail between their legs saying that all Colombian women are crazy and gold diggers, when in reality they just can't handle a strong woman. From Revolutionary War heroes like La Pola to successful businesswomen like Marcela Torres, famous athletes like Linda Caicedo, and aerospace engineers that work for NASA like Lady Trujillo, Colombian women offer more than just their beauty. They offer brains, they offer strength, they offer perseverance, and more importantly, they offer support for a strong man. So never underestimate the Colombian woman. So there you have it, the top misconceptions about Colombia. But which one's the biggest? You tell me. Did I miss any? Make sure to leave a comment because I'm always active, and I'll see you in the next video.